Hello everybody. Today we are discussing hammers. Something a lot of people have played with, have smacked something with, or even possibly hit themselves with. Now, obviously, we can look at one of the more expensive hammers that I own, which I've had for long enough now to have gotten paint, drywall dust, glue, and even replaced that head a couple of times. The benefit to a nice hammer like this is obviously that it is a much lighter weight. This one is only 15 ounces, but it hits sometimes where it feels like it is a sledgehammer. It is probably one of my favorite tools to use when I can, but if I don't want to damage it or its claws, I'll use something a little bit more like this for demolition. This one does actually weigh more in comparison to this by a lot, and was honestly just picked up as a beater hammer and has lasted the test of time so far. Probably close to about 15 years, I think now, if I'm not mistaken. I know for a fact that my finishing hammer here, which you can tell for a finish, you typically want something that has a curve. And that is intended for finishing nails, or for just overall ensuring that something is sunk in without damaging the surface. You can also tell when a finishing hammer is a finishing hammer by what kind of face it has. This face right now is smooth, which means that whatever I hit on the surface will stay smooth. Sorry for your ears. Something like this that is a bit rougher is typically determined as being a bit more of a rough or a framing hammer. And the reason for it is when you are smacking a nail or a surface, such as wood, trying to beat it into place, you want it to move, but at the same time, you don't want the hammer to slip, because often you're hammering towards yourself or close to yourself. Likewise, for this shingling hammer up here, you can see that it has an edge here, which allows you to cut into a material, not intended to cut through, but to allow for a surface where you can break off the material afterwards. This allows you to either cut for surfaces, lines, pencils, anything else that you wanted to. Lots of different options that you can do with it. But again, too, you can see that this is a rough hammer. It's intended for a rough surface. I obviously don't do a lot of roofing for shingles, but I still know what it's for. I do have older hammers, ones from 50 years ago, and of course an old sledgehammer. A great tool for the right job. If you want to beat something, you want to smack something back into place, having a good sledgehammer is absolutely important. I used to actually wear something similar to this, a small sledgehammer on a tool belt on a framing crew when we were beating walls into place, because a regular hammer, such as this, or even this, was not enough, but I still needed the leverage that came with the claws of a hammer. Hope this has been informative. You may also find all sorts of other types of hammers, ones for metal, ones for different types of purposes and different types of uses. You'll also see sometimes where people will cut off the actual teeth of their claw down to a smaller surface, so that way they're just pulling out the last little bit of a head. It is very customizable. You can do all sorts of things to hammers. You can cut different surfaces. I could even take a grinder to the smooth surface of this and make this a rough hammer for framing again too. So just remember, there's always something you can do to a tool to make it more of a useful tool.